John?
Thank you, Mr. President. You spoke about North Korea in the Oval Office, so I'd like to turn to trade, if I could. My understanding is that the Prime Minister came to you with a message from the European Union Commission President saying, if you put tariffs on steel and aluminum, we'll slap you back with punitive tariffs on bourbon and jeans and the motorcycles that you talk about from Wisconsin. Are you still planning on going ahead with these tariffs? There are some people in your party who have suggested it's not a good idea. And Prime Minister Levine, what's your perspective on tariffs, and what message did you convey to the President from Sweden and from the European Union? Thank you.
Well, the United States has been taken advantage of by other countries, both friendly and not so friendly, for many, many decades. And we have a trade deficit of $800 billion a year. And that's not going to happen with me. We have been mistreated by many, sometimes fairly, but there are really very few instances where that's taken place. And I don't blame the countries. I blame our leadership for allowing it to happen. When I was with President Xi in China, as an example, we lose $500 billion a year on trade. We have a deficit of approximately $500 billion a year with China. And we're doing things with China which are very strong, but they understand it. But I was with him and I said to him in public, I said, look, I'm not blaming you. I blame our people for not doing a better job, for allowing this to happen. But it's like that with many countries other than smaller. The European Union has been particularly tough on the United States. They make it almost impossible for us to do business with them, and yet they send their cars and everything else back into the United States. And they can do whatever they'd like, but if they do that, then we put a big tax of 25% on their cars, and believe me, they won't be doing it very long. The European Union has not treated us well, and it's been a very, very unfair trade situation. I'm here to protect, and one of the reasons I was elected is I'm protecting our workers, I'm protecting our companies, and I'm not going to let that happen. So we're doing tariffs on steel. We cannot lose our steel industry. It's a fraction of what it once was, and we can't lose our aluminum industry, also a fraction of what it once was. And our country's doing well. The massive tax cuts and all of the deregulation has really kicked us into gear. But I have to work on trade deals. We're working on NAFTA right now. And if we're able to make a deal with Canada and Mexico in NAFTA, then there will be no reason to do the tariffs with Canada and Mexico. But again, other countries, we won't have that choice. And unless they can do something for us. As an example, if the European Union takes off some of the horrible barriers that make it impossible for our product to go into there, then we can start talking. Otherwise, we're going to leave it the way it is. So the fact is, we've been mistreated as a country for many years, and it's just not going to happen any longer.
How do you avoid this escalating? How do you avoid this escalating into a trade war?
Well, we'll have to see. You know, when we're behind on every single country, trade wars aren't so bad. Do you understand what I mean by that? When we're down by 30 billion, 40 billion, 60 billion, 100 billion, the trade war hurts them, doesn't hurt us. So we'll see what happens. You know, you can also take it, in some cases we lose on trade, plus we give them military, where we're subsidizing them tremendously. So not only do we lose on trade, we lose on military. So, and hence we have these massive deficit numbers in our country. We're going to straighten it out, and we'll do it in a very loving way. It'll be a loving, loving way. They'll like us better, and they will respect us much more. Because even they say, right now, they say, we can't believe we've gotten away. I mean, two countries have said, we cannot believe, to be honest with you, we've gotten away with this so long. Now, one of them made that statement before I got elected. He said, I can't believe I made that statement before I got elected. But it's one of those things. We have to straighten it out. We really have no choice.
And Mr. Prime Minister, how forceful was your message to the President on what the consequences will be if he goes ahead with tariffs?
Now, first, trade is a European Union mandate, so we're a member of the European Union. It's a European mandate to handle trade issues. But as a member of the European Union, I think it's important for us to try to find a way to cooperate between the European Union and the United States. I fully understand and respect the President's view that we have to look after his own country, the country that you're leading. I understand that fully. That's my primary task as well. But for me, leading a small country, depending on open trade, the best way for us is to do that with others, because our export equals to 50% of our GDP. So for us, it is crucially important that we have this open and free trade. Today also, I believe that the supply chains are very, very complicated to see. I know that, for example, when we sell our fighter aircraft, which is a very good aircraft, the content is perhaps 50% American. So we want this to be resolved in cooperation. And when it comes to steel, yes, we have an overcapacity in the world. That's obvious. But at the same time, it is China that is producing about 50% of the steel in the world. So, and European Union, perhaps 10% and less than that. So, to summarize, I think it was a pity. Again, it's a European Union mandate, but it was a pity also that the TTIP negotiations ended, because perhaps with negotiations and talks, we can come into a situation where the European Union and the United States can cooperate. I think that would be a very good solution.
Just to add maybe a little bit further, if you talk China, I've watched where the reporters have been writing 2% of our steel comes from China. Well, that's not right. They transship all through other countries. And you'll see that a country that doesn't even have a steel mill is sending us 3% steel for our country. And many countries are doing it, but it comes from China. So China doesn't send us 2%. They send us a much, much higher level than that. But it's called transshipping. So it doesn't look good when it all comes out of China, so they send it through other countries, and it comes to us. And it's putting our steel mills out of business. Our aluminum mills are going out of business. And we need steel, and we need aluminum. And you know, there's a theory that if a country doesn't have steel, it doesn't have a country. And it's true. So this is more than just pure economics. This is about defense. This is about the country itself. But again, remember this, we lose $800 billion a year in trade. And I think I was elected at least partially on this issue. And I've been saying it for 25 years. Our country's been taken advantage of by everybody. By everybody, almost everybody. And we cannot let that happen any longer. Not for our companies and not, most importantly, for our workers. So we're not going to let it happen. Please.
Okay, Tina, TT News Agencies.
So, Mr. President, thank you for hosting us. You mentioned that Sweden has helped the United States with North Korea. How do you see your collaboration in the future to create a future peaceful Korean peninsula? How do you see Sweden's role there? How do you both view the collaboration? And as a follow-up to that, as I may, Mr. President, I know that you followed the development in Sweden closely, especially when it comes to immigration politics. Now that you spent some time with our Prime Minister, how do you view Sweden in general? What is your take and also on our immigration politics? Thank you.
I think you have a wonderful Prime Minister, I have to say. We've gotten to know each other. Certainly you have a problem with the immigration. It's caused problems in Sweden. I was one of the first ones to say it. I took a little heat, but that was okay because I proved to be right. But you do have a problem, and I know the problem will slowly disappear, hopefully rapidly disappear. But as far as our relationship with Sweden, it's going to be only stronger, only better, both in a military sense, in a trading sense, and economic sense. You know, Sweden is a I think the largest, the 8th largest investor in the United States. And they like me very much because the market is up almost 40% since Election Day. So I've made a lot of these business geniuses look even better. So they like Trump. But you know, it's been up very substantially. But I believe Sweden is about the 8th largest investor in the United States, and that's quite an achievement.
On North Korea.
We've been working on North Korea. Sweden has somewhat of a relationship with North Korea. We've been working with North Korea. As I said, Otto was really brought home, unfortunately, in very poor condition, but Otto was brought home largely with the help of Sweden. They're terrific, terrific people. People from Sweden. The Swedish people are fantastic people. I have many friends in New York, in Washington, from Sweden, and they are fantastic people. Thank you.
And Mr. Prime Minister, how do you view Sweden and North Korea and the U.S.?
We have to find a dialogue. I know it's not easy, but that's the way it has to be. It's a very dangerous situation, and we need all to be very concerned about the development of nuclear weapon. But we must look at the peninsula, the region, the world, and this has to do with world peace or something else. So the key actors is obviously the two countries, South and North Korea, as well as the United States and other big countries. They're the key actors. We've said that we can provide, we can be a channel or do whatever we can to see that the dialogue is smooth, not being naive. It's not up to us to solve this problem, but we can definitely, with our long presence on the peninsula, both in South and North. We have an embassy in Pyongyang, for example. We've had that since 1973. So with that relation with North Korea, I believe that they trust us. We're a non-aligned country and a military non-aligned country, and I think we can if the president decides or the key actors decide if they want us to help out, we'll be there.